بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والعصر إن الإنسان لفي خسر إلا الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات وتواصوا بالحق وتواصوا بالصبر.
نحمده ونصلي ونسلم على سيدنا ونبينا وحبيبنا وشفيعنا ومولانا محمد صلى الله تعالى عليه وسلم ورسوله النبي الأمين المكين الحنين الكريم الرؤوف الرحيم. أما بعد فأعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. قال الله تعالى في شأن حبيبه إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما. اللهم صل وسلم على سيدنا محمد وعلى آل سيدنا محمد كما تحب وترضى بأن تصلي عليه. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. واعتصموا بحبل الله جميعا ولا تفرقوا واذكروا نعمة الله عليكم إذ كنتم أعداء فألف بين قلوبكم فأصبحتم بنعمته إخوانا وكنتم على شفا حفرة من النار فأنقذكم منها كذلك يبين الله لكم آياته لعلكم تهتدون. صدق الله العظيم وبلغنا رسوله النبي الكريم ونحن على ذلك من الشاهدين والشاكرين والحمد لله رب العالمين. Most respected ulama, my respected brothers and sisters in Islam, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. My discourse for today is centered around the question of have the Arabs lost their spring? And I want to discuss it in terms of the current political situation, particularly in the Middle East, and how it is impacting on the world as well as on the Ummah globally, inshallah ta'ala. Exactly 5 years and 1 day ago, the 14th of January in 2011, Muhammad Azizi, an unknown common citizen of Tunisia, in the middle of the marketplace in Tunisia, set himself alight in protest at the draconian laws in terms of economic suppression and so on in Tunisia. And him setting himself alight literally sparked what we know today as the Arab Spring. That was in 2011. I remember 5 years ago speaking about that a few days after it occurred. And Muslims globally were hopeful that this would be a stepping stone to some degree of change in the Middle East, or what we know as Middle East and North Africa, in terms of the despotism, in terms of the tin pot dictators that have been controlling these countries and suppressing all types of development and advancement in these countries. But 5 years down the line, the Arabs certainly seem to have lost their spring. And you may have noticed that I'm using the word Arabs. I'm not using the word Muslims. And I'll get to that just now, why I'm talking about Arabs have lost their spring and literally they are in the winter of their discontent. If we look at the situation 5 years down the line and ask ourselves how much has been achieved since the Arab Spring took place. If you read some of the articles, and it's a very interesting one for those of you who are interested in The Economist, obviously they'll give you a bit of their own personal slant in terms of capitalist politics and so on. But they've written a very interesting article giving an overview and an analysis of all that has happened between 2011 and 2015. And it's a dismal situation. Out of the 6 countries, from a Western perspective, the only country that seems to have advanced in terms of democracy, in terms of change of government, and establishing a government which is more in keeping with what will pacify the Western powers out there, was Tunisia. Egypt, for all intents and purposes, went back to square one, in the sense that you had a disastrous phase, which could have been a very good success. Obviously, the Western powers didn't want that, which was with Morsi and Muslim Brotherhood, right? And we can discuss their phase at a later stage. But the point was, General Fattah Sisi came in, and regardless of all of his military-style coup, he has been now accepted universally as the de facto leader of Egypt. But Egypt is in a dismal condition. Libya same story. Syria, same story. Yemen, same story. Bahrain, same story. Nothing's changed. Right? Now, what was interesting in this article, in The Economist in particular, was that any type of, ascribing any type of blame to Western policies and how the Western powers reacted to the Arab Spring brings about a response from them of being absolute tosh. Those are the words. Tosh, meaning the Western powers have nothing to do in terms of the dismal state of these states or these countries which were involved in the Arab Spring, and it is all primarily because of our own inadequacies, the Arabs' inadequacies, and their own failures. And at best, the West was naive in having any positive opinion about the issue. They conveniently forget to tell you that who benefited most out of this Arab Spring were the Western powers themselves, because it gave them an easy way out because of internal civil dissent to get rid of old stock, dead stock, like Gaddafi, like Hosni Mubarak, and so on, right? And replace them with new stock and new blood that will be able to once again play up and conform to all of the requirements of the so-called superpowers out there. But there is one thing which is very, very concerning, in the sense that the one dismal failure of all of this uprising in the past 5 years is that it has failed to bring Muslim communities, in terms of politics, right, globally closer together. In fact, it's created more dissension and more disunity and more factions and more sectarianism than we ever had before. Right? Groups within groups are creating their own faction. Regardless of the ideological group that you subscribe to, you are within these groups nowadays, extremist groups are being created, and each one is claiming autonomy for himself or for his particular group. That's one issue. The second issue is that what we can't deny is that all of these geopolitical matters which are taking place and which are unfolding in the Middle East are always underscored by the ideological conflict that has existed for the past 1400 years. And this ideological strife and this ideological conflict primarily between the two major factions in the Muslim world, between the Sunni and the Shia, is used as a critical weapon by those despotic tyrants and dictators who want to engage in self-preservation and preservation of their own power base, and they use it effectively as a weapon of divide and rule. And we haven't opened ourselves up to this reality and acknowledged it and done something about it. Let me quote you a hadith to give you an overview of what I'm talking about. The Holy Prophet we always talk about what is Islam's solution, what is the prophetic solution to this, how did the Prophet, we don't want to take something simple that the Prophet of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave, because he was granted, most comprehensive speech. We want to look for something under the foreign affairs policies of Islam. We want to look for something in terms of the solutions, in terms of political Islam. We have created all of these differentiations. The Holy Prophet made one thing very clear. He said, "Inna Allah yarda lakum thalatha wa yakrahu lakum thalatha." Verily Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala desires for you 3 things, and He's happy, He's pleased about 3 things that if you possess them, and He said He dislikes for you 3 things. And what does He like for you? فَيَرْضَى لَكُمْ أَن تَعْبُدُوا. What is Allah pleased with? Allah is pleased with the fact that you worship Him. And this is not a simple statement that is being made. It means your absolute submission and surrender to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and to the laws of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, as has been prescribed in the Holy Quran and exemplified by the Holy Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam. And then, وَلَا تُشْرِكُوا بِهِ شَيْئًا. And that you don't attribute partners to Him. Partners in hukum, partners in authority, partners in anything whatsoever. And then, وَأَن تَعْتَصِمُوا بِحَبْلِ اللَّهِ جَمِيعًا وَلَا تَفَرَّقُوا. And that you hold on to the rope of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and you do not disperse. Meaning, hold on to unity. Hold on to that which brings people together. And don't hold on to those things which are going to create further dissension and disunity in the community. Remember one thing, we are not there and we will be unable to resolve the problems, our ideological issues that exist overnight. They've been there for the past 1400 years. But what we are asking for is unity, not uniformity. There's a major distinction between unity and uniformity. And one of the Sheikhs Shuyukh of Al-Azhar mentioned as one of the doctors of Al-Azhar, he said, why is it that if oppressors can get together and become allies of one another in their oppression, why is it that the oppressed can't become allies of one another? Have you noticed that? You'll see a Saudi, we saw the Gulf State Coalition, right? The Saudis will support the Bahrainis will support the Qataris will support the Emiratis and the Kuwaitis. They'll all support one another in their oppression. But all those who are oppressed within these countries can't seem to support one another. We have a common enemy in Israel, in occupied Palestine, and that is Israel, right? But yet, the two factions can't support one another. They are at loggerheads with one another. These are realities that we have to be cognizant of. And when we look at the situation right now, we can't just bring it down to ideological differences only. As I said, it underscores it. But the major problems that are there are primarily economic and social. If you look at the Middle East right now, right, you will see some issues which are very, very critical. And one that is that this economist brought it up, the economists spoke about it as well. And they speak about the fact, let me just bring this up here. Don't seem to opt for it. Okay? They say demographic figures are unyielding, right? 60% of the Middle East and North African population is under the age of 25. 60% of the population under 25. In 2011, the unemployment rate in the Middle East and North African countries was at 25%. It's climbed up to 30%. Add to that the problem of economic stagnancy in these countries. Add to that the problem of administration of justice, which is dismal. Add to that the fact that the education system in these countries there leaves a lot to be desired. And you're going to see a group of young people out there increasingly being frustrated. And when you see this degree of frustration, and when you see the type of ideological divide and the political strife which exists between the warring factions out there, right, it is a hotbed for extremism and fundamentalism to rear their ugly head. Because when people are young and they're irritated and frustrated there, and they want to vent their anger, they look for any avenue open for them there to be able to bring about some change. If they can't take change in terms of active engagement on a political level there, then they look for the easiest option out, which is violence. And you see this in this country as well. It's not something which is unique to the Arab people. Our people go out here, fees must fall. So they go out there and engage in massive protests. And the first thing that they do is destroy property. Destroy university buildings. Destroy the Senate chamber. Why? That's their expression of their anger. Violence. So this is a similar problem which now exists in the Middle East. And it is beginning to now to develop and become a bigger problem than we ever imagined. But at the same time, while these are the problems that the common man is experiencing, is the politics on the highest level out there, which is the one that we have to be concerned about. Why? You may have noticed that the oil price has dropped dramatically. It's gone up to plus minus $20 US. Right? And they're expecting to drop to $10 US. At one stage, right, when things were bad in terms of geopolitical unrest in the Middle East, oil price went up to $120 US. Ask yourself this question, why is it that before, when there was strife in the Middle East, the price of oil went up? Now, when it has reached unprecedented levels in terms of strife there, the oil price has dropped. Why is that? Why is that? Well, analysts have given you three reasons, and I want to bring this to your attention. One is that Saudi Arabia and America are colluding with one another to ensure that Vladimir Putin, in his desire for some degree of giving Russia some degree of power once again there, because they rely too much on oil resources as well and oil money as well in Russia, right? Doesn't get that foot in the door once again. So Russia doesn't become a superpower to be reckoned with once again the way it used to be. One. That's why Saudi Arabia and Makarudi. Number two is that because ISIS is now taken over quite a bit of Syria and quite a bit of Iraq and so on there, and they have control over the oil fields. If the price of oil drops, they will be able to keep ISIS in check. Number three, this is Saudi Arabia and America. Number three, right? Saudi Arabia is very upset about the fact that there are some overtures from United States there to win over Iran. And Iran also relies heavily on oil income. So, in order to scupper the deal, the easiest way to deal with this would be that the Saudis were the biggest suppliers of oil, drop the prices at some cost to them, which is sitting at a deficit never ever before seen, between 100 to 160 billion for the fiscal year 2015 for Saudi Arabia. Never it hasn't happened before. But at the risk of financial loss for the Saudis, that has no consequence in comparison to the loss of power that they so, die to keep in check. We are aware of these realities. And we look at it purely from an ideological perspective. We look at it purely from the perspective of, they stoke those fires there and they continue keeping us going. And we begin to take sides on the matter. And what is the thin veneer? The veneer is the Sunni Shia schism. The problem is, we need to wake up to these realities. Because when we discuss geopolitical matters, when we discuss issues that are affecting the Ummah out there, right, it is always colored by our perspective and the way we have been informed in terms of these two warring factions, whether it is Iran and Saudi Arabia in particular. Ask yourself, what has informed you about your opinion about Iran as a political power? Has it not been their ideology? Has it not been their ideology? If I were to do a quick random check here, I'll guarantee you an overwhelming majority will not be in support of Iran and Iranian politics. Did you wonder why? I'm not saying they're perfect, very far from it. But why is there this imbalance in terms of our own personal views? And then ask yourself the second question. How many of us will be supportive of the long term? Currently, short-term, medium term, because we can see all the holes inside there, right? But long-term Saudi agenda, how many of us will be supportive of that? How many of us will be supportive of the efforts that they are making in terms of stabilizing the Middle East? Quite a few of us. Quite a few of us won't even question the policies, yet those policies need to be questioned. Not only from the perspective of politics, but from the perspective of what it is doing to the Ummah. Right now, Saudis are heavily involved in the blanket bombing of Yemen. No one has raised a voice against it. Right? The Saudis were responsible for the incursion against Iraq in 1996 and in 2003. No one said anything about it. The Saudis backed the rebels, both sides, in destroying Syria. No one said anything about it. The Saudis backed Bahrain in terms of stemming that degree of revolution that was taking place in Bahrain by primarily Shia groups. And obviously they were supported by Iran. So these proxy wars which are taking place between Iran and Saudi Arabia are finding themselves and playing themselves out in Yemen, playing themselves out in Bahrain, and so on there. And who suffers? The people out there suffer. And what is it all about? It's all about maintaining and preserving power. And then once you preserve your power, then it's to expand that power. And ultimately what happens? We Muslims on the ground out there who know no better end up being caught up in sectarian differences which should not otherwise have created such a problem within us. Let me give you an idea. Currently, the radical movements within Islam itself, right, whether it's Al-Shabaab, whether it's Boko Haram and so on, they have been informed and have been inspired by one ideological grouping. That is Wahhabi/Salafi teachings. Let me show you how it plays out. Because the oppressors, Iran and Saudi Arabia, use this as weapons of mass destruction. Not destruction, destruction. What happens to us in South Africa? What happens to us in South Africa? Our views are skewed because they hit that little nerve that says, oh, be careful, there's the enemy, stay away from the enemy. Be careful, there's the enemy, stay away from the enemy. And you see what is happening in South Africa right now. The radical movements out there have been inspired the Wahhabi Salafi groupings. Okay, in this country, you are still able to comfortably learn Wahhabi Salafi teachings, etc., etc., etc. We're not talking about ideological difference of opinion. There's always scope for that. We're not interested in that. But the negative repercussions of people who are exposed to this type of teaching, which has been responsible for radicalism and extremism in all countries, where Muslims are in minorities, you can easily have access to the teachings of the Wahhabi and the Salafi school. But Shias, 99% of us know nothing about Shia ideology, right? Speaking about Shiaism and saying anything positive about Shiaism is a cardinal sin, as is speaking anything negative about Saudis and Saudi ideology, which is Wahhabism, is a cardinal sin in this country. And you know what happens? I'm not talking about the ideological divide here. I'm talking about the political repercussions of it. We can't see any evil and anything wrong with the Saudis. And when I mean the Saudis, I mean the Qataris and the Kuwaitis and the Emiratis and all of them included. Right? We can't see any evil in there. And when we look at it and when we are asked to take a position, then it's us against the Shias. That's what it boils down to. And it's high time this Ummah started educating itself about these issues which seem to divide us on a very high level in terms of politics and on grassroots level in terms of ideology. There was an article written, and I want to discuss this one of the days, inshallah, when it's appropriate. There was an article written by Muhammad ibn Mukhtar al-Shinkiti. He's from Mauritania, and he wrote an article on Al Jazeera website a few years ago. And he spoke about between Sunni and Shia, disconnection and engagement. Right. And in this article, I just want to bring to your attention one aspect that he spoke about. He said the thing that seems to divide us to such a great level, right, in terms of our ideological differences and so on there, when you look at it from the perspective of Sunni Shia differences over the years in terms of history, with his general reading of Islamic history, he says there have been 4 occasions when there were deep schisms between the Sunnis and the Shia. And he says, number 1, he said the conflicts between the Malikis and the Ismailis during the Fatimid period ruling over Tunisia, which lasted a few decades. 1. Then the Hanbali Shia skirmishes in Baghdad under the Buwayhiyyah rulings, right? That was 1045 to 1055, 10 years. The struggle for power between the Ottomans and the Safavids, starting from the Battle of Jalilabad in 1514. And then the struggle of the 2 banks of the Gulf since the Iranian Revolution in 1979, you know, when Iraq and Iran were at war. Right? And this is where we are living today. These are only 4 occasions. Otherwise, if you look at history from the Abbasid Khilafah and so on, then you will see, yes, there have been differences ideologically in terms of theology, in terms of rituals and practice. There are differences between the Shia groups and the Sunni group. This is not everyone knows that. But in terms of social, cultural, intellectual, jurisprudential engagement, historically, they engage with one another. They engage with one another. And history bears testimony to this. History bears testimony to this. So why is it that this culture of fear is created in the minds of people? Right. To further create discord and disunity on a global political level based on our ideological differences. Why? Why? And as a result, the people out there are starving. As a result, 400,000, the number 5,000 children were dying in Iraq every single day based on Saudi policies in support of the American alliance that they had. 5,000 people. And remember, Madeleine Albright, when she was asked about the death of 5,000 children in Iraq, she said, well, it's a great number, but it was worth it. I'll never forget that quote. It's sad, but it was worth it. We've got to come to realize that these despotic little, fiefdoms that are there in the Middle East need to fall. And right now, regardless of what we try to do, we are not going to be able to do it because we don't have enough political power to be able to do so. The common man in particular. And in Saudi Arabia, things are not going to change very soon simply because they have the backing of Saudi Arabia. But we need to wake up to these realities. Time has come for us to stop being Saudi says and shake to the Saudi shakes. Really, people are pretty aware of my anti-Saudi rhetoric, as they call it, and they'll come out from there having a good laugh, say, "Fuzail bang the Saudis again." And of course, the pro-Saudis will say, "Yeah, he brought about his Shia leanings again." This has nothing to do, right, in terms of politics, in terms of who you are for and who you are against. This has an issue. It is an issue with the Muslim Ummah and how these people are playing games with our lives, how people are playing games with our Iman, right? And we are being deluded by all of these games. And the result is, your brothers and your sisters are dying in Syria. It's very easy for us to go out there and give a couple of donations. Very easy for us to do that. And alhamdulillah, the South African community is very charitable and generous in terms of those matters there. But in terms of taking a firm stand against the oppressors in the Middle East, when are we going to stand up and do that there? We have coalitions, BDS, we have coalitions against this group and against that group and this one here and this one here. When are we going to create coalitions against those despotic, tyrannical governments of the Middle East for them to fall? When are we going to start actively engaging and conscientizing people and informing people about the corruption that takes place there, about the alliance, the unholy alliances that these people are involved in? How long are we going to stand up there and say, because of the respect of the Haramain Sharifain, we'll allow these people to do whatever they want to do, regardless of the consequences for the Ummah? When will we as Muslims of this Ummah stand up to these realities? Because right now, you know what happens? The moment anyone says anything against any oppressor, particularly in the Middle East, right? What happens? They invoke to you, "Whoa, do not curse the Arab." You know the Prophet of Allah said, "Don't curse the Arab, don't speak ill about them. Don't do this, don't do that there." Again, the culture of fear is created. No, respect these people. Why? They are the people of the Prophet of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. They are people like this one here. They are in charge of the Haramain Sharifain. Look at what they've done. No one tells you, or people are too scared to tell you about how they destroyed the Muslim Ummah. And mind you, Iran, with all of its political ambitions, is no better. It's no better. No one is concerned about the Ummah. The Ummah needs to be concerned about itself. Right? We've seen that the Ayatollahism in Iran has been disastrous. Right? In all of these countries, whether it's Egypt, whether it is Libya, whether it is Tunisia, right, security forces rule. You have the Mutawwa in Saudi Arabia, you go to Iran, they have their own clergy and clerical, CIA, right, who control everything, all in the name of religion. And not even religion, they give it the name religion, but all in the name of ideology, that which you subscribe to. And they use this as weapons of mass destruction. And the Ummah hasn't woken up to these realities. And if there's an Arab Spring that needs to take place, it needs to be a Muslim Spring. And the first thing we need to do is to spring clean our own homes from the scourge and from the dirt of sectarianism. We are not asking for uniformity, we are asking for unity. You know what is uniformity? Uniformity means that we all believe the same thing, right? That's what uniformity means. And we all subscribe to the same values, we all subscribe to the same idea. No, we are talking about unity, that we have one Quran, we have one Deen, we have one Rasul. Right? Our basics are fundamentally the same, hopefully. Right? But most importantly, we are an oppressed Ummah, and we need to stand up against the oppressor. And currently, the oppressors are our own people first. Our own people. And it requires guts and courage for our ulama, particularly ulama who are of an international standard, right? who enjoy international acceptance, to stand up and say, "Hey, this needs to stop." Sheikh Yusuf Qaradawi, when the Arab Spring took place there, he was very vocal. After that, he kept quiet. Right? The same thing with Ali Juma. Vocal, kept quiet. Some of them were supporting the wrong side of it, kept quiet. Our global scholars, I can understand one perspective where they're coming from, but hey, hold on a minute. Until we don't come to realize that change comes on grassroots level, when we start changing the mentality and the thinking and remove the misconception that are in minds of people, which has so divided us, right? Nothing's going to happen. Again, I ask the question, is there a plausible solution to the Palestinian conflict? Of course there is. Is there a plausible solution to the Syrian conflict? Of course there is. What's stopping it? Besides the juggernaut force of the Western superpowers with their own refinements and whatever it is, what else is stopping it? What else is stopping it? Our own indecisiveness, our own lack of courage. And you know what? For us individually, we need to start changing our thinking. Really, we need to start changing our thinking. Right? And we need to tell our scholars out there who have their ideological opinions and whatever you say, hold on a minute, please. Please, don't stoke the fire of sectarianism in this country. We've had enough of it. We've had enough